lentil soup, but not just any lentil soup, a delicious Cuban-Jewish fusion. Sally that girl in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally That Girl in the Kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make a lentil soup, but not just any lentil soup. This is going to be a Cuban-Jewish fusion, just like me. It's got a little bit of that Cuban flair, a little touch of that Jewish flair, and it's going to be perfect. So what's going to make it a little more Cuban, a little more Jewish? Well, I'm going to be using pieces of calabaza in my delicious lentil soup because there's so many delicious bean soups and stews that Latins just love to add calabaza to, and it really just adds a little bit of extra flavor, that little extra something. What is calabaza? Pumpkin. So it's just going to be extra special and extra delicious. Now, what am I going to do for that Jewish flair? Well, I'm going to be adding kosher hot dogs, of course, all beef hot dogs as my source of meat for this soup, and it's going to give it that delicious meaty flavor, and it's also going to make it super fun. So adults and kids alike will love this lentil soup. So I'm super excited to teach you how to make it. So let's not wait another second and let's get started. For today's recipe, you will need 16 ounces of dried lentils, 8 cups of water, 7 kosher hot dogs, 3/4 of a pound of squash calabaza. This weight is before removing the peel off of the pumpkin. 3 small gold potatoes, 8 baby carrots, 1/2 of a banana pepper that's been seeded, 1 small yellow onion, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 beef-flavored stock cube, 1 packet of Sazón, 1 bay leaf, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper, and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. You will also need a cutting board and a knife, some measuring spoons, a colander, a wet measuring cup, and a large pot with a lid. And of course, you'll also need a ladle for serving your soup, and you can use it for mixing it as you cook, or you can use a large spoon instead. And this, of course, is completely optional, but I'm going to be making some white rice because I love eating my lentil soup with some white rice. So if you're going to be making some white rice, then I suggest making it before you put together your soup, so you'll have your delicious fluffy white rice to serve along with your soup. Of course, as I said, this is completely optional. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is put your colander into your clean sink, and then you're going to add your lentils into your colander, and then you're just going to go through your lentils, making sure that you don't have any little hard pieces or any little rocks, and then of course just remove them because of course you don't want to cook those, you don't want them in your soup. And then you search them real well, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to give our lentils a little rinse. The best part about lentils is we don't need to soak them. They cook so quickly. They do not need to be soaked overnight. So that's why I love making lentil soup so often, because it comes together really, really quickly. So I just wash them really well. And then once I've rinsed them, then I'm going to turn off my water and I'm going to go through them one more time. I just want to make sure there aren't any little pebbles or any hard pieces, and then once I've checked them well, then we're good to go. So now we're just going to let our lentils sit while we prepare the rest of our ingredients. So now I've pulled out all of the vegetables I'm going to need, and then I cut my banana pepper in half and I've seeded it. I removed the seeds from the inside. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all these and then I'm going to chop them up. I chopped my calabaza squash, my potatoes, my baby carrots, and I've minced my garlic cloves, and then I cut my onion in half. Now, if you prefer chopping up your onion and your banana pepper, you may. But I'm going to do it the way I learned how to do it from my mom because these are just going to break down in the soup. And I just absolutely love the effect and the flavor. So now I've grabbed a pack of kosher hot dogs and I'm going to be chopping up my hot dogs. So the pack comes with 7 and then I cut each of the hot dogs into 8 pieces to create bite-sized pieces. Then I placed my large pot on my stove and I added 8 cups of water to it. And then right on top of that, I'm going to add my lentils that have already been rinsed. I'm just going to add them all right in. And the beauty of this soup is that it's just so easy. Once you chop everything up, everything is going to go right in and it's just going to come together super quickly. So my lentils are in. Now I'm going to add my gold potatoes. Just use a waxy potato. Any type of waxy potato is fine. And then I'm going to add my calabaza. So the calabaza almost breaks down, but the waxy potato really stays whole. And then I'm going to add my baby carrots that I've cut up. And then I'm going to add my whole banana pepper right in. It's been seeded. It's perfect. It just goes right in. And then on top of that, I'm also going to add my onion. Like I said, my onion is just going to come apart and it's just going to be perfect. I'm just going to have pieces of onion in the soup and it's going to be amazing. Then I'm going to add my hot dogs that I chopped up into bite-sized pieces. And just notice one thing on top of the other. Super, super easy. There's nothing to it. And then I'm just going to kind of mix these in a little bit just to make sure that everything is submerged. And then on top of that, I'm going to add my chopped up garlic, beautifully minced. And then I'm going to add a bay leaf for some flavor. And I'm going to add my beef flavored cube. That's really going to help accentuate that beefy flavor. And then, of course, I'm going to be adding my packet of Sazón because this is, after all, a Cuban-Jewish fusion. So, of course, the calabaza and the Sazón will give it that little bit of Cuban flair. And, of course, we've got our kosher hot dogs for that Jewish flair. So now we're just going to add in our onion powder and our garlic powder. And then we're going to add just a bit of salt because remember that beef cube and our Sazón packet already have sodium, so just a bit of salt. And then a bit of ground black pepper. And then we're going to add a healthy drizzle of extra virgin olive oil right on top. So now all we're going to do is we're going to mix those seasonings in. Just make sure that everything is well combined. And then we're pretty much ready to get cooking. Look at how beautiful and colorful this soup looks. I love that it has so many different vegetables in it, and it's also just meaty. And of course, lentils are full of iron. This is just an amazing, amazing soup. So now we've combined all of our beautiful ingredients, and now all we're going to do is we're going to grab our lid and put it right on top, and then we're going to turn our stove on to high. We're going to start at high because we want to get this boiling. So we're going to let it cook for about 10 minutes on high. Then we're going to check it, and then once we see that the soup is starting to boil, we'll just go in and give it all another little stir. Just make sure that everything is nicely combined. And then once we've stirred it, what we're going to do is we're going to be lowering the temperature to allow it to cook. So I've given it a little stir. I'm going to put my lid back on it, and then I'm going to lower my temperature to low to allow it to finish cooking. But I'm also going to take my lid and I'm going to tilt it a little bit to allow some steam to escape. Now, as a reminder to myself, I'm going to set a timer. I set mine for 25 minutes, but 20 may even do it. And then in the process, every so often, you're going to take your lid off and you're going to come in and just give it all a little stir. You see how the onion layers are starting to separate? They're really just going to break down. It's going to be delicious. And then remember, every time you stir, you want to put your lid back on and just leave it slightly tilted to vent your soup as it cooks. And I'm cooking it on low the whole time. And like I said, after those initial 10 minutes, on low now, it'll cook in about 20 to 25 minutes max. It'll start to thicken up. It's gonna look gorgeous. And then once it's ready, we're gonna turn off our heat and we are done. We're good to go. Now remember, as you're cooking, if your soup starts to thicken too much, you can feel free to add some liquid to it. Just warm a little water up in the microwave and add it right in. Of course, then you'd probably want to taste the salt level to make sure it doesn't need another touch of salt if you do decide to add a little more water. And now your soup is thick and hearty and delicious and filled with all those beautiful vegetables and those delicious hot dogs. Who wouldn't love this lentil soup? And of course, let's not forget that calabaza, that delicious pumpkin squash. It really does something magical to these lentils. It almost breaks down and it helps really just thicken up this soup and make it extra hearty. So now let's not forget that fluffy white rice that I prepared, because I personally like to serve this soup in a bowl and then I top it with a little bit of that white rice. But of course, you could also serve it as a side and then serve the rice on your plate and then just pour a little bit of the lentils on top of the rice. Whatever way you prefer to serve it, it's going to be delicious. I eat it both ways. I'm gonna start today eating it as a soup, but then maybe tonight I'll serve myself a little next to whatever I'm preparing for dinner. And I'll just serve myself some rice and put a little lentils on top. Either way, it's super, super yummy, super hearty. It's a meal in and of itself. It's really just absolutely divine. So I really cannot wait to taste my delicious Cuban-Jewish fusion. Look at those beautiful carrots and that gorgeous calabaza. The color they bring is just so spectacular. And these lentejas, as we call them in Spanish, have just been infused with all of these delicious flavors of the veggies and the hot dogs. So, so yummy. I can't wait. So delicious. Oh, that delicious calabaza squash just breaks down in your mouth. It just almost melts. And then, of course, the heartiness, that meatiness from the hot dogs, and of course, the potatoes, all of it together. Amazingly delicious. It's hearty. It's yummy. It's so flavorful, and you are going to love the effect that hot dog brings. It makes it extra tasty, and I'm telling you, kids are going to love this, because who doesn't love a soup with hot dogs in it? It's so delicious, so yummy. Amazing, amazing. You are going to love it. So how crazy delicious does this look? Warm, inviting, hearty, yummy. There are so many words that we can use to describe this amazing lentil soup. It's not your run-of-the-mill lentil soup. Adding those kosher hot dogs and adding those pieces of calabaza along with the potatoes that I would normally add and carrots and things like that really just enhance all of the flavors, makes it extra fun, extra hearty, extra delicious, and it's perfect as a meal any night of the week. Trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're gonna have to try to make this recipe yourself. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to like, comment, and share. I love it when you give my video a little like, when you write a nice comment, and of course, when you share my videos with your friends. And if you're not already following me on social media, be sure to follow Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest. And you can follow Sally That Girl FL on Twitter, Snapchat, and on TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.